Guys, tonight we're sailing somewhere that smells like salt, rum, and really bad decisions. You've probably seen the movies, pirates swinging from ropes, treasure chests glowing in candlelight, and a handsome captain flashing a gold tooth. But the real life of a pirate, let's just say, you wouldn't last a day, not even a morning, honestly. Imagine this. It's dawn, but you can't really tell because the sun's hidden behind thick grey clouds. The sea is restless, the air sticky, and the ship rocks like an unsteady cradle. The deck creaks under your feet, and you, new recruit, are already regretting everything. The smell hits first, a powerful mix of salt water, sweat, tar, gunpowder, and things that definitely died weeks ago. You'll get used to it, they say. You won't. The captain's shouting before breakfast. His voice is rough, his clothes rougher. Pirates didn't really do uniforms. Whatever they found, stole, or stitched together was what they wore. Torn shirts, faded coats, bandanas soaked in sweat, and trousers that hadn't met a wash bucket since last year. You'd think being surrounded by water would encourage cleanliness, but no, fresh water was too precious for washing. It was for drinking, mostly. Breakfast, if you can call it that, is being served. You get a chunk of hardtack that's a biscuit so dry you could use it to build furniture. You're supposed to soak it in something before eating it, but that something is usually beer or stale water, sometimes rum. If you're lucky, you chew, slowly, carefully, hoping not to crack a tooth. Welcome to pirate life. The ocean looks endless, and for a moment, you feel that same sense of freedom pirates always bragged about. The open sea, no rules, no kings. But then you notice something. There's no land, no port, no safety anywhere. Just waves, wind, and the slow dread that comes from realizing that this ship, this floating mess of ropes and noise, is your home now. You're not here because you wanted an adventure. Most pirates weren't. Some were former sailors who got tired of low pay and cruel captains. Others were forced into it, captured by pirates, and given a choice. Join or die. Spoiler alert, most joined, but it wasn't a glamorous life. There were no gold mountains or hidden islands full of treasure. Most loot was boring stuff. Barrels of sugar, bags of flour, cheap cloth, occasionally silver, rarely gold. And when there was treasure, it didn't last long. Pirates spent it as fast as they stole it, mostly on rum, gambling, and things we can't politely discuss in a bedtime story. You'd think pirates were wild, lawless men, but strangely enough, they had rules. Articles, they called them. Every crew signed a kind of contract before setting sail. It covered everything: how loot would be divided, how injuries would be compensated, and what happened if someone stole from another pirate. The punishments weren't pretty. If you got caught cheating your mates, they demaroon you, left alone on a tiny island with maybe a bottle of water and a pistol. Romantic? Not really. Most never made it off alive. And then there's the noise. The ship never sleeps. Waves slam the hull, ropes snap, seagulls scream, men snore, cough, sing, and argue. You try to rest, but the hammocks swing violently, and you're surrounded by the scent of unwashed bodies and damp wood. Rats run across the beams above your head, and sometimes you feel them brush your feet. You don't scream, you just pull your blanket tighter and pretend it didn't happen. Days at sea blur together. You patch sails, scrub decks, and take turns watching the horizon. You'll start talking to the sea, to the sky, to the ship itself. Anything to break the monotony. The excitement of piracy, the chasing, the battles, the boarding happens rarely. The rest is boredom, hunger, and waiting for something to go wrong. When a storm comes, though, all that boredom vanishes in seconds. The sky turns black, rain lashes your face. The ship tilts so sharply you're sure it'll flip. Everyone's shouting, ropes whipping through the air, water crashing over the deck. You cling to whatever you can find. Maybe a mast, maybe a rope, maybe a prayer. The waves tossed you around like a rag doll, and you start to understand why so many pirates never lived long enough to retire. After the storm, the world is quiet again. Broken sails, soaked men, and that faint smell of wet death in the air. Someone's missing. Nobody says it out loud, but you all know. The sea takes what it wants. You look over the edge, into the dark water, and realize that beneath the calm surface is an entire graveyard of forgotten sailors. You swallow, turn away, and get back to work. There's always more work. Rum helps. It dulls the hunger, numbs the fear, and keeps you warm on cold nights. Every pirate drank it, not for fun but survival. Water went bad quickly in barrels, but rum stayed good forever. Some mixed it with lime juice to fight scurvy, though most didn't bother. Teeth fell out, gums bled, bodies weakened, and still they kept sailing, because that's what pirates did. They survived, or tried to. And if you thought pirates slept peacefully under the stars, think again. Hammocks were cramped, damp, and infested. The ship rocked endlessly, and the sound of creaking wood was your lullaby. Sometimes you'd wake up and find someone gone, swept overboard, taken by fever, or punished for breaking the rules. Death was constant, and yet, somehow, life went on. But maybe the strangest thing, despite all of it, the filth, the danger, the pain, many pirates said they preferred this life, because here, at least, everyone was equal. No kings, no masters, just men bound by the sea and the promise of freedom. However miserable it might be, the waves crash softly against the hull now. The lanterns flicker. Somewhere, a pirate hums a half-forgotten tune, low, sleepy, a little sad. You close your eyes and drift with the ship, realizing that maybe, for tonight, you too are part of this strange, floating world. The sea, after the storm, always feels a little emptier. The air smells of wet rope and old wood, and the crew moves slower, quieter. You can almost hear the sigh of the ocean, like it's mocking you for thinking you could ever control it. The sky starts to clear, and the sun peeks through the clouds, not warm, but enough to dry your clothes and sting your salt-covered skin. Someone starts laughing again, a rough, broken laugh that sounds like it hasn't been used in months. Pirates laugh a lot, but not because life is funny. They laugh because if they didn't, they'd probably cry. The ship creaks forward, the sails patched up again. You notice how thin some of the men have become, ribs visible, faces hollow, eyes always scanning the horizon. Food is running low again. It always is. The biscuits are harder, the salted meat smells suspicious, and every meal feels like a gamble between hunger and stomach pain. When you chew, you find something crawling inside your bread and just flick it away. No one wastes food here. You swallow and pretend it's extra protein. Sometimes, when luck is bad and no ships appear for weeks, pirates resort to fishing. You drop lines into the sea and wait, but the ocean isn't generous. When they do catch something, it's shared evenly. Pirate crews took pride in fairness. Strange, considering their profession. Even the captain doesn't eat better than the lowest deckhand. That's part of the code. Everyone gets a share. Everyone gets a say. A democracy of thieves. At night, when the waves calm, some men sit by the faint glow of a lantern, playing dice or cards. They joke, they argue, they tell stories of treasure and ghost ships, of cursed gold and mermaids with cold eyes. You listen quietly, realizing that every story is half lie, half wishful thinking. A pirate's biggest treasure wasn't gold, it was escape. Escape from rules, from poverty, from a world that treated them like dirt. Out here, at least, they could choose their misery. The moon hangs low, silver on the waves. You climb up to the deck, take a deep breath, and watch as the ship cuts through the dark water. The ocean looks peaceful, almost gentle. It's easy to forget how cruel it can be. You can hear the slow, rhythmic snoring of exhausted men below deck. One wrong wave, and all of it, the ship, the stories, the laughter, could vanish beneath the surface. Pirates didn't think too far ahead. The next sunrise was blessing enough. The days blur again. The same sounds, the same chores, the same endless sea. You scrub, climb, patch, repeat. Salt burns your skin, the sun cracks your lips, and your hair becomes a sticky mess of sweat and wind. When the wind dies down, the air turns hot and heavy. The ship barely moves. The sails hang limp, useless. Days like this are the worst. No wind, no progress, no hope. The barrels of water start running low, and every drop feels precious. Men grow restless. Someone snaps at someone else over nothing, and soon, knives are drawn. The captain steps in before blood is spilled, his voice sharp as the edge of a cutlass. "Save your fight for the Navy," he growls, and everyone backs down. You can feel the tension buzzing in the air, like a storm waiting to happen. Being stuck in one place for too long drives people mad. You start staring at the horizon, praying for a breeze, for a sign, for anything. Then, one morning, the lookout shouts, "A ship!" Suddenly, everyone's alive again. The deck explodes into motion, men loading cannons, sharpening blades, checking ropes. You rush to your station, heart pounding. This is what you signed up for, right? The thrill, the danger, the chase. The ship in the distance is smaller than yours, maybe a merchant vessel. Easy prey. You feel a rush of adrenaline and fear at once. You're about to commit an act of piracy. The captain gives the order, and the ship turns, sails catching the wind. The crew cheers, the sea seems to pulse with energy, and you grip the railing as the two ships draw closer. You can see faces now, terrified sailors scrambling on the other deck. Cannons boom. The noise is deafening. Smoke fills the air. The ship shudders, and splinters of wood fly everywhere. The smell of gunpowder burns your nose. Men shout, scream, fall. You duck instinctively as a cannonball whistles past, smashing into the mast. Then comes the boarding. Hooks and ropes fly. Pirates swing across the gap, roaring like wild animals. You hesitate, but someone pushes you forward, and suddenly you're over the rail, boots slipping on the enemy deck. The fight is quick, messy, brutal. You see flashes of steel, hear groans and curses, feel the thud of your own heartbeat, and then, silence. It's over. The merchant crew surrenders, hands up, faces pale. The captain nods. Pirates rarely killed unnecessarily. Too much blood was bad luck. The loot is gathered, barrels of sugar, cloth, maybe some coins. Nothing glamorous, but enough to keep the ship going. You help carry it back, muscles aching, ears ringing. When it's done, the defeated crew is left with a small boat and a few supplies. The sea will decide their fate. Back on your ship, the mood shifts. Laughter, singing, and rum, lots of rum. The air is thick with smoke and sweat, but everyone's smiling for once. Victory means food, money, survival. Someone hands you a cup of rum, and you take it, ignoring the burn in your throat. For a few hours, life feels almost good. The celebration lasts until dawn, then fades into hangovers and groans. The ship keeps moving, as always. You wonder how many people died yesterday, not just your side, but theirs. You wonder if their ghosts follow the ship, drifting just below the surface. Pirates were a superstitious lot. They believed in omens, curses, sea monsters, and the wrath of the ocean itself. Some wore charms to ward off evil. Others carved symbols into the mast. Nobody laughed at the stories, not really. The sea had its own rules, and everyone respected them. Days later, the horizon shows a shape, an island, not big, but with green palms and white sand. The crew cheers. Land means rest, fresh water, maybe fruit if you're lucky. Anchors drop, and small boats row toward the shore. The sand feels strange under your feet after so long. You fill barrels with water, gather coconuts, and stretch under the sun. Some men wander off, returning later with grins and stories that don't sound entirely true. You laugh anyway. For one night, you sleep on solid ground, under real stars. But rest never lasts long for pirates. The next morning, smoke appears on the horizon, a navy ship. The one thing every pirate dreads. Bigger, faster, armed to the teeth. They're shouting, running, panic. The captain barks orders, sails rise, and soon the ship is cutting through waves again, desperately trying to escape. The wind howls, cannons thunder, and you realize that maybe freedom always comes with a price. The wind screams through the rigging as the navy ship closes in. Cannons boom again, and the whole world feels like it's shaking apart. You can't even hear your own thoughts, just the roar of guns, the snap of sails, the crash of waves. Splinters of wood fly past your face, and somewhere behind you, someone's shouting orders you can't quite make out. The air smells like fire and iron. The ship lists hard to one side, and you grab a rope before you're thrown overboard. You can see their flag now, the Union Jack fluttering proudly in the wind. The Royal Navy. You'd think pirates were fearless, but the Navy was their nightmare. Not because they were braver, but because they didn't stop. They'd chase you across oceans, through storms, through death itself, if they had to. And if they caught you, you didn't just die, you were made an example of. The captain stands at the wheel, shouting, soaked with salt spray, eyes blazing. He's not planning to surrender. Pirates almost never did. He yells for more sail, more speed. The crew scrambles, climbing ropes slick with rain, pulling lines with bleeding hands. You do the same, heart pounding, lungs burning. The ship groans under the strain, but it keeps moving, faster and faster. You glance back. The Navy ship is still there, but smaller now. The distance is growing. The crew cheers weakly. You made it, at least for now. Hours later, the horizon is empty again. The sea looks peaceful, almost innocent, like it hadn't just tried to kill you. The captain finally gives the order to rest. You collapse where you stand, breathing hard. Your ears still ring with cannon fire. Someone laughs softly, a tired, half-crazy laugh that spreads across the deck. You realize it's relief, pure and simple. Another day alive. Another day free. That night, the stars are sharp and clear, scattered like silver dust. The rum makes its rounds again, and someone hums an old sea shanty. It's a sad tune, but somehow comforting. You lie back, looking up at the endless sky. The ocean looks calm, the ship rocks gently, and for a moment, you almost forget what kind of life this is. Almost. Morning brings work again, it always does. The sails need patching, the deck scrubbing, the wounded tending. Pirates weren't known for being gentle, but they took care of their own. If you lost a leg or an eye, you didn't get abandoned, you got compensation. It wasn't kindness, it was practicality. Every man counted. The ship couldn't afford to lose one if he could still pull a rope or load a cannon, and that's where the famous image of wooden legs and hooks comes from. Pirates were constantly injured, splinters, burns, cuts, gunshot wounds, infections. Medical care was creative. The ship's surgeon, if you had one, was usually a drunk ex-barber who'd lost his license somewhere. His tools were rusty, his hands shaky, and his favorite cure was rum. Lots of rum. Amputations were done without anesthesia, just a few men holding you down and a bottle to bite on. If you survived that, you were considered lucky. If not, you were given a sea burial, a few words, a splash, and then silence. Days stretch into weeks again. The horizon never changes, but your mind starts to. You begin to understand why pirates seemed half mad in stories. The sea does something to you. It strips away time, sense, and sometimes reason. You start measuring life by sunsets and storms. You talk to the ship like it's a person, curse the wind, and dream about land that doesn't exist. And then, one morning, a voice calls from the lookout. Another ship. The crew gathers, squinting into the distance. This one isn't a merchant or a navy vessel. It's another pirate. The black flag flutters faintly in the wind. A meeting at sea is rare, and it could go either way, trade, gossip, or battle. You can feel the tension as the ships draw closer. When the two ships finally pull alongside each other, there's a long silence. Then laughter breaks out. The other captain knows yours, old friends, maybe old enemies. They toss ropes, pass barrels, and soon, both crews are mingling. Pirates had their own strange kind of community. News travels faster on the ocean than you'd think. You hear rumors of ports tightening their defenses, of bounties on famous names, of new laws meant to hunt down every last pirate. You realize the world is changing, and not in your favor. Still, for now, it's a party. Music, rum, stories, shouted across the waves. Someone starts dancing on the deck, and even the captain cracks a smile. For one night, there are no enemies, no rules, no sea between you. Just laughter and the sound of waves gently tapping the hull. It almost feels like peace, but peace doesn't last. It never does out here. The next morning, the ships drift apart again, sails billowing, men waving until they're just dots on the horizon. And then, it's back to the endless blue. You watch the waves and think about how many lives are buried beneath them. The ocean keeps its secrets well. Weeks pass, supplies run low again. Men get sick, fevers, rashes, coughing fits that don't stop. Someone whispers the word scurvy, and you notice more bleeding gums, more pale faces. You didn't think you'd miss vegetables, but you do. You dream of fruit, of fresh bread, of anything that isn't soaked in salt or crawling with weevils. The ship's cook does what he can, but there's not much to do when your only ingredients are hardtack and despair. Sometimes, on calm nights, you catch sight of dolphins racing alongside the ship. For a moment, everything feels lighter. The sea glows faintly with bioluminescence, like the stars have fallen into the water. You lean over the side, watching the light dance. For all its cruelty, the ocean can still be beautiful. Maybe that's why pirates stayed for these rare, quiet moments that made the misery worth it. As you drift to sleep that night, you think about home, if you even have one anymore. Most pirates didn't. The sea was all they had left. It took everything and gave nothing back, yet somehow, they kept sailing. You close your eyes, listening to the steady rhythm of waves and wood. And for now, that's enough. Morning creeps over the horizon. slow and pale, like it's too tired to rise. The ship groans as it moves through gentle waves, and the crew stirs awake one by one, stretching, coughing, scratching at flea bites, and mumbling curses to the sea. The sun doesn't bring warmth out here, only light that makes the salt crust on your skin sparkle. You've been at sea for weeks now, maybe months. It's hard to tell anymore. Time drifts like the tide, and every day feels both endless and the same. You dragged yourself up to the deck, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. Someone's already at the helm. Another man is scrubbing the deck with a brush that's seen better days. The air smells like tar and sweat. The cook is shouting below, trying to convince a few rats to stay out of his pantry. Nobody laughs, because everyone knows they'll probably eat those same rats if the food runs out again. You wander to the railing and stare at the endless blue. There's something hypnotic about it. The water glitters in the sunlight, and the waves whisper against the hull. If you stare long enough, you start to feel like the ocean's staring back. That's what scares most men out here. It's not storms or enemies, but the silence, the vastness, the way the sea seems alive, watching, waiting. You remember a story one of the old sailors told a few nights ago, about a ghost ship that appears when pirates are doomed. No sails, no crew, just a dark shadow gliding through the mist. Those who see it, he said, don't live to tell anyone else. The others had laughed, but you noticed how they avoided looking at the horizon afterward. Superstitions ran deep among pirates. No whistling on deck, no naming the sea, no killing an albatross. The ocean had a long memory, and it didn't forgive. The captain calls a meeting later that morning. You gather on deck, the sun hot on your neck. He's got a map spread out, corners weighed down with bits of lead. His voice is rough from shouting, but steady. He talks about heading for a port, a hidden one, where pirates trade without fear of the law. A place where you can drink, rest, maybe even spend your share before it disappears. The crew murmurs with excitement. The thought of land again feels like a dream. It takes days to get there. The weather turns kinder, the wind steady and warm. You can smell land before you see it, a mix of earth, plants, and smoke. Then, at last, a shape rises on the horizon, a small cove surrounded by cliffs, with makeshift docks and ships anchored in calm water. Pirate flags wave lazily in the breeze. The place looks like it was built out of leftovers, wood, canvas, anything that could float, but it's alive with noise, laughter, music, arguments, and the smell of roasting meat. Paradise, by pirate standards. As soon as the ship anchors, men rush ashore. You follow, your legs wobbling from too long at sea. The sand is hot, the air thick with spice and rum. You pass huts and shacks, taverns made of driftwood, and stalls selling everything from old weapons to fruit that looks too good to be real. There are people from everywhere: Europeans, Africans, islanders, sailors, merchants pretending not to be merchants. Nobody asks questions. Nobody cares who you are. You find yourself in a tavern before long. The noise is overwhelming: shouting, laughter, mugs slamming on tables. The air smells of smoke, sweat, and rum. Someone's singing badly in the corner. Another is passed out on the floor. You order a drink, the first real drink in weeks, and it burns like fire. It tastes like heaven. The talk around you is all gossip. Who captured what? Who got caught? Who betrayed who? You hear about a pirate named Blackbeard, terrifying the Atlantic. His beard lit with slow-burning fuses during battle, so he looked like a demon. Someone else mentions Anne, Bonnie, and Mary Read, women who fought fiercer than most men. There's a story about Calico Jack, another about Bartholomew Roberts, the gentleman pirate who dressed better than kings. You listen, half amused, half in awe. These people sound larger than life, but you know most of them will die the same way: hanged, shot, or lost to the sea. Later, when the rum dulls the noise, you step outside. The moonlight shines on the water, calm and silver. Ships rock gently in the cove, their lanterns glowing like fireflies. For a moment, it feels peaceful. You almost forget what kind of world this is. Then you hear shouting from the tavern again, a fight breaking out, chairs splintering, bottles smashing. You sigh. Pirates can't even relax without chaos. By morning, the ship's preparing to leave again. Most of the crew looks worse than when they arrived, dyes red, heads pounding, pockets empty. The captain doesn't scold them. He's been doing this long enough to know there's no point. Freedom's expensive, and pirates always pay in the same currency: pain, hunger, or regret. You help load barrels of supplies back onto the ship, fresh water, salted meat, fruit, and something that might be bread. It's heavy, back-breaking work, but everyone moves quickly. The Navy doesn't often come here, but when they do, it's over fast. You pull the ropes, haul the sails, and soon the ship's leaving the cove behind. The sea opens up again, vast and endless. You look back once, at the tiny flicker of fires along the shore, then forward, toward whatever waits next. The days that follow are almost quiet. The weather holds, the sea behaves. The captain seems calm, which is rare. You fall into the rhythm again, working, eating, sleeping. Some men carve small wooden trinkets, others tell stories. A few just stare at the waves for hours. There's comfort in routine, even if it's a miserable one. You stop counting days altogether. Time doesn't matter here. The sea doesn't keep calendars. Then, one night, the lookout spots something strange. A light in the distance, too still to be another ship, too bright to be the moon. The crew gathers, whispering. Someone mutters about the ghost ship again. The captain curses and orders the sails turned, but the wind shifts suddenly. The air grows cold. The light flickers once, then vanishes. You tell yourself it was just lightning, but your stomach says otherwise. No one sleeps much that night. Every creak of the wood, every splash of water feels louder. The sea has moods, and this one feels wrong. The next morning, fog rolls in thick and white. You can barely see your own hands. The world becomes a muffled blur, the ship a ghost gliding through the mist. You hear shapes moving in the fog, maybe whales, maybe something else. Pirates don't like silence. They start singing just to hear their own voices. You join in, even though your throat's dry. It's better than listening to the nothingness. Hours pass before the fog finally thins. The ocean stretches ahead again, calm and endless. Nobody mentions the light, but everyone's quieter, eyes darting toward the horizon, half expecting it to return. The fog finally clears by morning, but the air still feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. You wake to the sound of the creaking mast and the low hum of waves brushing against the hull. The crew moves slower than usual, as if the night's silence drained them. Even the captain's voice sounds quieter, a growl softened by unease. The ocean stretches endlessly again, calm and deceptive, the kind of calm that usually means trouble is coming. You lean against the railing, staring at the horizon. It's strange how small the world feels on a ship, nothing but sky above and sea below, and you, somewhere in between. You start to realize that being a pirate isn't about adventure or freedom like the songs claim. It's about surviving boredom, fear, hunger, and the slow, creeping madness of the waves. The ocean doesn't care about your courage or your name. It only cares about time, and it's got more of it than you ever will. By midday, the wind picks up again, snapping the sails to life. The captain shouts orders, and the crew scrambles. You find comfort in the chaos. At least when there's work, there's no time to think. You climb the rigging, your hands blistered, your muscles aching, the salt stinging every cut. Below, the deck looks like a living thing, men moving in rhythm, pulling ropes, shouting, sweating, cursing. It's ugly and perfect all at once. That's when the lookout calls out again. Another ship, small, distant, but moving fast. The captain squints through his spyglass. Merchant, he mutters, and there's a ripple of excitement through the crew. The kind that tastes like adrenaline and greed. You know what comes next. The black flag goes up, skull and bones, fluttering proudly in the wind. The crew cheers, the cannons are loaded, and suddenly everyone forgets about fog and ghost ships. There's nothing like the promise of plunder to lift spirits. You grab your musket and take your position, heart thumping like a drum. As the ships draw closer, you can see the panic on the merchant crew's faces. They're waving flags, signaling surrender. But pirates rarely took words at face value. The captain narrows his eyes, waiting. The merchant ship slows, but doesn't stop. That's enough reason to open fire. The first cannon blast is deafening. The ship lurches with the recoil, smoke filling the air. You fire again and again, until your arms ache. The smell of powder mixes with salt and sweat. The other ship takes a hit, a sail tears, splinters fly, someone screams. The merchant crew finally waves a white flag, desperate now. The captain lowers his hand, and the guns fall silent. The two ships draw closer, the water between them churning with foam. You throw hooks, tie ropes, and soon the decks are almost touching. The pirates swarm across like a tide, shouting, weapons gleaming, eyes wild. You follow, stepping onto the enemy deck. It's over fast. No real fight. The merchants drop their weapons, trembling. You can see it in their faces, the fear, the disbelief. Some pirates mock them, others start searching the cargo. You stay quiet, watching. There's something unsettling about seeing your reflection in the eyes of a man who thinks he's about to die. The captain steps forward, calm as ever. He promises mercy if they cooperate. They nod quickly. The pirates strip the ship clean, crates of rum, sacks of sugar, rolls of cloth, even a few barrels of dried fruit. Treasure, in its own way. Gold was rare. Food and rum were worth more to men like these. When the loot's transferred, the captain gives the order to leave them with enough supplies to survive. That's mercy, by pirate standards. You watch the merchant ship drift away, battered but afloat. You almost feel sorry for them, almost. The mood on your ship changes instantly. The fear and tension are gone, replaced by laughter, relief, and song. The deck turns into a celebration. Rum flows, men dance, someone starts beating a rhythm on an old barrel. The captain even smiles, a small, rare thing, but it feels like a sunrise. You find a quiet spot near the bow, away from the noise. The sea glows gold under the setting sun, and the horizon stretches out endlessly, painted in pink and orange. For a fleeting moment, everything feels right. The sea calm, the air warm, your stomach full, your head clear. You realize that's what keeps pirates going. Not gold, not glory, but moments like this. Fleeting, fragile peace that makes the misery worth it. You can't explain it, but somehow the danger, the hunger, even the fear, it all becomes part of the rhythm. The ocean gives you just enough to make you forget it's killing you. Night falls, soft and quiet. The stars come out one by one, scattered like dust across the sky. You lie back, watching them flicker, listening to the soft creak of wood and the whisper of water. Somewhere nearby, a sailor hums a tune, low and slow, a lullaby for men who have no home. You drift into sleep, dreaming of land that probably doesn't exist anymore. By morning, the wind has shifted again. The air smells different, thicker, sweeter. The captain stands at the helm, scanning the horizon. There's land ahead. Not an island anyone recognizes, but land all the same. The crew stirs with excitement. You haven't touched solid ground since that hidden port weeks ago. The idea of trees, of dirt, of something that doesn't move beneath your feet feels unreal. As you draw closer, the island takes shape, green hills, rocky cliffs, and white beaches. It looks untouched, wild, like a secret. The captain decides to anchor in a small bay. You lower the boats and row to shore, the sound of oars echoing softly. The sand under your boots feels strange, heavy. You breathe in deep air filled with the scent of grass and flowers. It almost makes you dizzy. The crew spreads out, gathering firewood, filling barrels with fresh water, picking fruit. Someone finds a stream. Another spots strange footprints in the sand. The captain warns everyone not to wander too far, but you know curiosity always wins. You follow a few men into the jungle, the air buzzing with insects and birds. It feels alive, every sound, every color sharper than the sea. You pick fruit, drink from a stream, laugh like you've forgotten you're supposed to be a criminal. For a moment, the world feels new again, but paradise never lasts. As night falls, strange noises echo from the trees. Distant drums, maybe thunder, maybe something else. The captain orders everyone back to camp. Fires burn along the shore, and the men huddle close. The sound comes again, rhythmic, growing louder. You grip your weapon, heart thudding. The shadows move beyond the firelight. No one speaks. The ocean behind you, the jungle in front. For the first time, the sea feels almost safe. The jungle hums with sound insects, birds, and something deeper. The kind of noise that makes your skin crawl because you can't quite name it. The fire crackles, sending sparks up into the dark, and the men huddle close, eyes darting toward the tree line. You can hear whispers, jokes forced through clenched teeth, nervous laughter that dies too quickly. Pirates are brave at sea, but on land, land has ghosts of its own. The captain sits by the largest fire, his face half-shadowed, the orange glow dancing on his weathered skin. He says nothing, just stares into the flames, a pistol resting casually on his knee. That silence spreads. Even the most talkative men don't speak. The jungle feels alive, listening. Somewhere out there, a branch snaps. The sound is small, but it cuts through everything. Every man turns toward it, weapons raised. Another snap, closer this time. The captain lifts his head, calm but alert. "Hold," he mutters. "Don't fire till you see something." You grip your cutlass, heart pounding. The shadows shift, then movement. Figures appear at the edge of the firelight. Dark silhouettes, tall and still. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then one of them steps forward, and the firelight catches their face. Not ghosts, not monsters, but people. Islanders. They don't look afraid. Their faces are painted, eyes sharp and curious. One of them speaks in a language you don't understand. The captain stands slowly, lowering his weapon. He answers in gestures, open hands, slow movements. The air feels thick enough to choke on. After what feels like forever, one of the islanders nods. They lower their spears. The captain does the same. A few words are exchanged, though neither side really understands. Then, to everyone's surprise, the islanders gesture toward the jungle, inviting. The captain hesitates, then nods. He picks a few men, including you, to follow. The rest stay behind, guarding the camp. You walk into the jungle again, this time guided by flickering torches. The air is humid, heavy with the smell of flowers and earth. The ground is soft underfoot, and the sounds around you grow stranger. Drums, maybe, or heartbeats. After a while, you reach a clearing. There's a small village, huts made of wood and leaves, fires burning low, people watching silently. Children peek from behind their mothers. Men stand at the edges with spears. It's quiet, but not threatening. You can feel eyes on you from every direction. The islanders offer food, fruit, roasted fish, something that smells like heaven after weeks of salted meat. You eat carefully, grateful, suspicious, amazed. The captain tries to communicate, drawing maps in the dirt, pointing to the horizon, memeing ships. The islanders watch, nod. Then one of them draws something to a rough circle, dots around it, and something in the middle that looks like an X treasure, or warning. It's hard to tell. You stay a while, eating, resting, feeling the strange calm of the place. The islanders sing softly, low and rhythmic, voices blending with the sound of waves in the distance. It's hypnotic. You almost forget why you came. Then the captain stands abruptly. He's seen enough, he says. Time to go. You thank your hosts the best you can and head back toward the beach. But as you walk, the jungle feels different. The drums start again, louder this time, echoing through the trees. You glance back, no one following, but the sound won't stop. By the time you reach the camp, the fires are burning low and the men look uneasy. They've heard it too. The captain orders the fire stoked higher and the watches doubled. The drums continue long into the night, steady and distant, until they finally fade with the dawn. When morning comes, the captain's already at the water's edge, staring out at the ship. "We leave," he says simply. No one argues. You help load the boats again, the sand warm beneath your feet. The island looks calm in daylight, almost peaceful, but everyone's eager to go. As you row back to the ship, you look over your shoulder one last time. The beach is empty, no people, no movement, just the jungle, silent and green, as if it never happened. Back on board, the mood is strange. No celebration this time, just quiet work. The ship creaks as the sails fill and the island fades behind you. The sea feels familiar again, almost comforting after the jungle's wild stillness. But something lingers. Maybe it's the memory of the drums, or the look in the islanders' eyes, calm, knowing, like they understood something you didn't. Days pass, and the rhythm returns. The sea, the wind, the endless horizon. You fall back into routine, scrubbing, hauling, eating, sleeping. The men talk about the island sometimes, but never for long. It's easier to forget. Then one evening, as the sun sinks low, you notice the captain standing alone at the bow. He's holding something small, turning it over in his hands. You step closer. It's the drawing from the village, the circle and the X. He doesn't notice you at first. When he does, he gives a quiet laugh, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. "Funny thing about maps," he says softly. "They always lead you somewhere. You just don't know if it's where you want to go." He tucks it into his coat and walks away. You watch him go, wondering what that meant. That night, the sea is calm again. The stars shimmer above like tiny fires, and the crew drifts into sleep. You lie awake, listening to the water, the ropes creaking, the faint snore of men who've forgotten how close death always is. You close your eyes and dream of drums that sound like thunder and an island that might not have been real. Morning comes, and with it, a new wind, strong, steady, pulling you forward. The captain seems different now, driven, eyes fixed on something far beyond the horizon. He doesn't say it, but everyone feels it. You're chasing something again. Maybe gold, maybe glory, maybe ghosts. Whatever it is, there's no turning back. The wind has changed again, sharper, colder. You can feel it biting through your clothes as you stand on deck, watching the horizon. The sea looks darker now, restless, shifting under the grey sky like it's warning you. The captain's at the helm, coat whipping in the wind, eyes locked on the horizon. He doesn't talk much these days. Whatever he saw on that island, whatever that map meant, it's buried deep in his thoughts. The rest of the crew feels it too, that uneasy energy that spreads like sickness. The laughter's gone, the songs have stopped, even the rum tastes flat. You can tell everyone's thinking the same thing. The last time the captain got that look in his eyes, half the crew didn't come back. Still, the sea gives no choice. It pushes you forward. Days pass under heavy clouds. The waves grow taller, meaner. The ship creaks and groans as it fights the current. You work until your hands bleed, tightening ropes, hauling lines, shouting to be heard over the wind. The storm builds slow, first the drizzle, then the wind, then the sky itself splits open. Rain lashes down, cold as knives. Thunder rolls so close it feels like the heavens are breaking apart. The captain's voice cuts through the chaos, steady and commanding. Reef the sails, secure the cannons. You run, water blinding your eyes, salt burning your lips. The deck turns into a battlefield, waves crashing, ropes snapping, men slipping and vanishing into the dark water before anyone can reach them. The ocean roars, swallowing their screams. You grab onto a beam as the ship tilts dangerously. Lightning flashes, and for a split second, you see the captain at the wheel, defiant against the storm, eyes wild with something that looks like both rage and joy. Then everything goes black. When you wake, it's quiet, too quiet. The air smells of wet wood and smoke. You're lying on the deck, soaked and bruised, your muscles stiff. The storm is gone, but so is half the ship. The mainmast is broken, the sails torn to ribbons. Bodies are scattered, some still, some moving. You sit up slowly, heart pounding, and realize how close you came to vanishing into the sea. The survivors move like ghosts, dragging wreckage, patching holes, tending wounds. The captain's still alive, somehow. His hat's gone, his coat torn, but his eyes burn brighter than ever. He gives orders, calm and sharp, and the men obey. It's the only thing keeping them from falling apart completely. You work through the day, patching what you can, hauling ropes, bailing water. By nightfall, the ship is barely floating, but it's enough. The stars return, cold and distant, watching silently as you drift. No one talks. The storm took more than just men. It took the laughter, the illusion that you were untouchable. The next morning, the lookout spots something on the horizon. Not land, not another ship, just a dark shape bobbing in the waves. You row out to it with a few others. As you get closer, you see what it is, a piece of a broken hull, burned black. The name on the side is half gone, but you recognize the letters. It's from a Navy ship. You look at each other. The ocean swallowed them too. For the first time, you realize it doesn't matter who you are, pirate, sailor, king. The sea takes everyone eventually. The captain studies the wreckage in silence. He doesn't smile, but you can tell he's thinking something. Maybe he sees it as a sign, maybe as a warning. You can never tell with him. By evening, the sea calms again. The sun sets red, casting gold light across the waves. You're exhausted, but alive. Someone starts a small fire in a barrel, cooking what little food you have left. Salted fish, soggy bread, and rum for courage. You sit close, letting the warmth soak in. One of the older sailors starts talking, voice low, like a bedtime story. He tells of another storm, years ago, when he sailed with a different crew. They lost everything, ship, men, gold. Only he survived. I used to think it was luck, he says, staring into the fire. Now I think it's punishment. The sea doesn't like to be robbed. No one answers. You just listen to the fire crackle and the water lap against the hull. The words stick with you though. Punishment. The ocean's never been fair, but it's always been just. As night deepens, the captain calls you over. He unfolds the map again, the one from the island. His finger traces the circle and the X. This, he says quietly, isn't just a mark, it's a current, a path. You look closer. The markings aren't land, they're whirlpools, reefs, and a deep trench. He thinks there's something there, hidden beneath the sea. Treasure, maybe, or something worse. You ask him how he knows. He just smiles, that strange, distant smile. The island is new, he says. They were warning us, but I've been warned my whole life. Never stopped me before. You don't sleep that night. The ship drifts toward the unknown, the stars fading behind thick clouds. You can feel it, something ahead. The wind changes, the water grows colder, darker. The ocean feels alive again, restless. By dawn, the horizon glows faintly. A low mist hangs over the water, swirling and shifting like it's breathing. You hear it before you see it, a distant rumble, like thunder deep underwater. The men whisper prayers under their breath. The captain just stands there, smiling faintly, eyes fixed forward. You know you're heading somewhere no map should lead. The mist clings to the water like breath on glass, thick and ghostly. You can barely see a few feet beyond the bow. Every creak of the ship sounds louder, every splash sharper. The men move slowly, careful not to make noise, as if afraid the sea itself might be listening. The captain stands at the helm, unmoving, eyes fixed on the horizon that no one else can see. The map lies open beside him, damp and curling at the edges. That same strange X marked dead ahead. Hours pass in silence. The wind barely stirs, and the sea is smooth, too smooth. It doesn't look right. No waves, no rhythm, just flat water stretching forever, black as ink. You can feel it beneath you, heavy and still, as if the ocean's holding its breath. Then, the sound starts, low at first, like a hum, the kind you feel more than hear. It grows, a deep rumble that makes the deck vibrate under your boots. The crew looks around, eyes wide. Someone mutters a prayer. Someone else whispers, "It's the deep." And then you see it. The water ahead begins to move, not with waves, but with force, circling, twisting. The mist shudders and parts, revealing a vast whirlpool, churning like the mouth of the world. The center drops away into darkness, the edges spinning faster and faster. The air smells like iron and rain, though there are no clouds above. The captain grips the wheel tighter, his jaw set. "Hold course," he says. You think you must have misheard him. "What?" someone shouts. "That'll drag us under." But he doesn't answer. His eyes burn with something between madness and faith. You realize then, whatever he's chasing, whatever's down there, he's not turning back. The crew erupts, shouting, grabbing ropes, some trying to lower lifeboats, others frozen in place. The ship lurches as the current grabs it. The water pulls harder, swirling faster. You can feel the drag, the tilt, the unstoppable force of it. The world tilts sideways as the ship is drawn in. You hold onto a post, knuckles white, wind tearing at your hair. The sound is deafening now, a roar that drowns out everything, even thought. The ship groans like a dying beast. Planks crack, ropes snap, men scream. You glimpse the captain at the helm, eyes wide, laughing, even as the sea rises up around him like a wall. Then it hits, the ship drops. The world turns upside down, and you're in the water. Cold, crushing, endless. You can't tell which way is up. The current spins you like a toy, dragging you deeper and deeper. You fight, kicking, clawing, but it's no use. The light fades, replaced by dark green, then black. For a moment, you stop struggling. The ocean feels alive around you, vast, ancient, watching. You think of the stories sailors tell, of cities swallowed by the sea, of creatures that sleep beneath it, of curses and gods that never died. Maybe they were never stories. Maybe the sea just hides the truth better than anyone. And then, somehow, you break the surface, gasping, coughing, dragging air into your lungs like you've never breathed before. The world around you is quiet again. No ship, no men, just you and the endless horizon. You float for what feels like hours, the sun climbing higher, your body aching. Eventually, you spot wreckage, a barrel, a piece of wood, a torn sail. You grab onto it, letting the current carry you. Days blur together. The sea's calm again, almost gentle, as if it's forgotten what it just did. You drift, half-conscious, sunburned, starving. Sometimes you think you see shapes beneath the water, shadows that move too slowly to be fish. Once, you think you hear the drums again, faint and far away. You can't tell if it's real or just your mind breaking. Then, one morning, you wake to the sound of gulls. You open your eyes and see land, real, solid land. You paddle weakly toward it, every muscle screaming. The surf carries you the rest of the way, dumping you onto warm sand. You lie there for a long time, face pressed into the earth, listening to waves roll in and out. For the first time in forever, the ground doesn't move beneath you. When you finally sit up, the world is blinding. Palm trees sway overhead, the air smells of salt and flowers, and the sky is the clearest blue you've ever seen. You're alive. Somehow, impossibly alive. You stumble through the trees, legs trembling. The jungle hums like it did before. Alive, wild whispering. You find a stream and drink until you can't anymore. The water's cold and sweet. It feels like forgiveness. But as you rest, something catches your eye. Marks on the rocks by the shore. Carvings, circles, lines, and that same X. Your stomach tightens. You recognize it. The same symbol from the island. The same one on the map. You look around, suddenly aware of how quiet the jungle's become. The air feels heavier again. You don't know if this is the same island or another, but it doesn't matter. Somehow, it's all connected. You sit there for a long time, staring at the carvings, trying to make sense of it. Maybe the captain found what he was looking for. Maybe it found him. The ocean doesn't forget, after all. As the sun sets, you build a small fire on the beach. The flames flicker weakly, the smoke curling up into the darkening sky. You watch it dance, and think of all the faces you'll never see again. The laughter, the songs, the storms, the ship that was home, and the sea that took it back. The tide creeps closer, the waves whispering softly against the sand. You lie back, staring up at the stars, the same ones that guided you through everything. You can almost hear the creak of the deck, the flap of sails, the captain's voice calling over the wind. Maybe you didn't survive. Maybe this is just the sea's last trick, a dream to keep you calm as it pulls you under. But as your eyes drift closed, you decide it doesn't matter. The sea takes everything in the end, and somehow you think that's fair. The last thing you hear is the sound of waves, gentle and endless. The sun rises slow over the island, a soft gold bleeding across the water. You're awake before it crests the horizon, lying there in the cool sand, staring at the world that shouldn't exist. The fire's burned out to embers. Smoke drifts lazily in the still air. Your body aches, every muscle, every bone. But it's the silence that gets you. No shouting crew, no creaking wood, no crashing waves. Just the steady hum of insects and the far-off cry of gulls. You drag yourself up, brushing sand off your face, and start to walk. The beach stretches endlessly, curving into mist at both ends. You pass pieces of your ship, a cracked barrel, a torn flag tangled in driftwood, a boot that might have belonged to someone you knew. It's strange how quickly the sea erases things. One storm, and whole lives vanish. The jungle looms close to the shore, thick and green, alive with whispers. You step into it cautiously, ducking under vines, pushing past ferns. The air grows heavy, hot, full of the sound of life. Birds, insects, the rustle of leaves that might be the wind, or might not. It's beautiful, in that wild, dangerous way only nature can be, but it's also unsettling. The deeper you go, the more you feel watched. The trees twist around you, their roots like bones under the soil. You spot more carvings, faint symbols on stones, half covered in moss, circles, spirals, and always that same X. You start wondering if this island even exists on any map. Maybe it's the kind sailors whispered about, the kind they warned each other to avoid, the kind that appears when it wants to, and disappears when it's done with you. By midday, you find a clearing. In the center stands what's left of an old wooden structure, a hut, maybe, or a shrine. It's overgrown, eaten by vines, but something about it feels wrong. Too symmetrical, too deliberate. You approach slowly, heart thudding. Inside, it's dark and cool. The floor's made of stone, smooth and worn by time. And there, carved into the wall, is the same map. Cruder, older, but unmistakable. The coastline, the whirlpool, the X. You trace your fingers over it. The lines are deep, the symbols burned into the rock, not just carved. Someone wanted this to last forever. Below the X, there's something else written. Letters in a language you don't recognize, but one part stands out. A symbol shaped like a spiral sinking inward. You step back. The air feels heavier now, pressing against your skin. The jungle outside is gone quiet. Not just calm, silent. No birds, no wind. You can hear your own heartbeat. Then, from somewhere deep in the trees, you hear it. A faint rhythm. Slow, deep, drums. You freeze. You know that sound. The same one from the island before. The same one that came before the storm. It's distant, but it's getting closer. You can feel the vibration in your chest. You back away from the hut, scanning the trees, but there's nothing there. Just the mist creeping low, curling between the trunks. You start running. The forest blurs around you, roots snagging your boots, branches clawing your arms. The drums grow louder, faster, echoing off the trees until it feels like they're everywhere. You burst out onto the beach again, gasping, heart hammering. The sea is calm to calm. The horizon glows faintly gold, and then you see it. Out there, in the distance, something rising from the water. At first, it looks like a rock, but then it moves. A shape, massive, dark, shifting just beneath the surface. The waves break around it, rolling outward like breath. You can't tell what it is, but every instinct tells you it's alive. You stumble backward, tripping into the sand. The drums stop. The silence that follows is worse. Then, slowly, the shape sinks again, vanishing beneath the surface without a sound. The water smooths out like glass. Nothing remains, not even a ripple. You sit there for a long time, shaking, staring at the horizon. The air smells like rain again, though the sky is clear. You realize you're crying without knowing why. Maybe it's fear, or awe, or something deeper. The understanding that the sea doesn't just take, it remembers. You stay on the island for days. You build a shelter. You fish. You rest. But every night, when the world goes quiet, you hear it faint, far away, that low hum beneath the waves. It's not the wind. It's not the tide. It's something older. Sometimes you dream of the ship again, of the captain at the wheel, laughing into the storm, of the crew, singing shanties that echo across endless water. You wake up with the taste of salt in your mouth and the sound of drums fading from your ears. You start marking the days in the sand, though you stop after a while. The tide keeps erasing them. One morning, you spot something far off, a dark shape on the horizon, a sail. At first, you think it's a trick of the light, but it's real. It's coming closer. You wave, shout, light a fire. The ship turns slowly and heads your way. You can't believe it. After everything, after the storm, after the whirlpool, someone found you. As it draws near, you see the flag. It's torn, the colors faded, but you know that symbol, the same skull and crossed blades. Your stomach drops. It's your ship, or what's left of it. It glides closer, silent, the sails ragged but full, the decks empty, no crew, no sound, just the soft flap of fabric in the wind. The hull creaks as it drifts to shore, stopping just short of the sand. You wade into the shallows, staring up at it. The name on the side is almost gone, eaten by salt and time. But it's there, the same ship that went under. You climb aboard, the decks warped and grey. The wheel turns slowly on its own. The captain's coat hangs over the railing, still dripping wet. You walk to the helm, your hand shaking. The map's there, the same one, soaked, torn, but intact. The ink's faded except for one thing, that same X. You pick it up, and for the first time, you notice something new, a faint line running from the X back toward the shore. A path. You look toward the island, the carvings, the drums, the thing beneath the water. You understand now. The map wasn't showing treasure, it was showing a warning, a place not meant to be found. And you did. The ship creaks again, a low groan that sounds almost alive. The wind rises, cold and wet, carrying a faint whisper that might be your name. Or maybe it's the captain's voice, still laughing somewhere deep below. The tide begins to pull the ship away. You stand there, watching as it drifts back toward the mist. You could jump off, swim to shore, pretend it never happened. But something in you already knows the sea doesn't let go of what it's claimed. The wind dies. The sails hang still. The world fades into grey. And somewhere, in the deep, the drums start again. The ship drifts in silence, its sails hanging limp like the wings of some giant bird long dead. You stand on the deck, your hand gripping the railing, watching the island fade behind you. The mist swallows it fast. Trees, beach, carvings gone as if it was never there. All that's left is grey water and the sound of your heartbeat. You don't know why you stayed aboard. Maybe curiosity. Maybe madness. Maybe the sea's already claimed you, and this is just it pulling you deeper. The air feels colder now, heavy with salt and memory. Every board beneath your feet creaks softly, like it's breathing. You walk across the deck. Everything looks the same, yet wrong. The ropes hang loose, damp with seawater. The barrels are split open. The lanterns flicker though no one lit them. You can feel the faint sway of the ocean under your boots, that familiar rhythm, but there's no wind, no tide, just motion that comes from nowhere. You move toward the captain's cabin, the door half open, swinging gently. The smell hits you before you enter, salt, mold, and something like smoke. Inside, the cabin's dark except for a small flame on the table, a candle, still burning. You can see the map lying there, spread open, its edges curling inward like it's alive. The captain's chair is turned toward the window. You can see the back of it, the dark, torn coat draped over it. Slowly, carefully, you step closer. Captain, your voice sounds small in the silence. The chair creaks as it turns, but it's empty. Only the coat sits there, hanging heavy on the wood. You freeze, the air suddenly colder, the candle flickering wildly. You stare at the empty seat, at the coat that should have gone down with him. Then you see it, the small pool of water beneath the chair. It's not dripping from the ceiling. It's spreading outward. You back away. The boards beneath your boots are wet now, slick with seawater. You turn and run out onto the deck. The ship's moving faster. The mist's thicker. The world feels smaller, closing in. Something's wrong with the horizon. It bends, warps. The sea curves upward, the sky twisting into a shape that makes no sense. The stars above seem to shift, forming strange patterns, symbols that almost look familiar, like the carvings on the rocks. The ship groans, loud, deep, alive. You grab the railing as it tilts, the sea pulling harder. You shout, though there's no one to hear. The air hums, a low vibration crawling up through the wood, and then you hear it again, the drums. Slow, steady, distant, but growing closer. The sound rises from the deep, pulsing through the hull, echoing inside your chest. You stagger forward, clinging to the mast, heart racing. The drums grow louder until they're all you can hear, not just a rhythm now, but a voice in it. Low, deep, speaking words you can't understand. You look down, the water's glowing, faint light, greenish blue, swirling beneath the surface like fireflies trapped under glass. It moves in circles, faster, brighter, until you can see shapes forming below, outlines, shadows. You squint, trying to make sense of it, and realize their faces, dozens of them, hundreds, pale, weightless, staring up at you from the depths. The crew, the ones the sea took. They're not moving, not swimming, just suspended there, eyes open, mouths slightly parted as if waiting. You step back, trembling. The deck groans again, louder this time. The candle in the cabin goes out. The mist thickens until you can barely see your hands. And then, through it all, you hear footsteps. Slow, deliberate, wet. You turn. The captain's standing at the helm. Coat dripping, eyes bright as glass. His face is calm to calm. "You made it," he says. Voice rough like wind, through old sails. "Didn't think you would." You can't speak. You just stare, your throat tight. He looks at you for a long moment, then at the map. "You shouldn't have followed," he says softly. "The sea doesn't like when you look too close." You try to answer, but he raises a hand. "Don't. It's already done." He turns back to the wheel, gripping it with both hands. "She's waking," he says. You ask, barely a whisper, "Who?" He smiles faintly. "The one who sleeps beneath." The sea shudders. The ship lurches, pitching hard to one side. You grab the railing as the waves explode upward, glowing brighter. The faces below, twisting, moving. The drums pound faster, louder, until it feels like your heart might burst. The captain stands steady, eyes closed, whispering something under his breath. The water rises higher, wrapping around the ship like hands. And then, silence. The light fades, the mist clears. The ocean is calm again. You're lying on the deck, gasping, the air warm, the sun shining. No captain, no drums. The map's gone. The coat is gone. Everything is still. You sit up slowly. The ship is drifting, quiet, half broken but afloat. The sea is blue again, stretching endless in every direction. You look down at your hands. They're wet, trembling, but alive. You stand, listening. No sound but the gulls. And then, faintly, under it all, That hum again, low, deep, patient. You look toward the horizon, the sun glinting off the water like gold. Somewhere out there, beneath the calm surface, something stirs, waiting, remembering. The sea looks peaceful, but you know better now. It never forgets. The sun hangs heavy now, floating in that hazy place between afternoon and dusk, where the light turns gold and time feels slower. You sit on the deck, leaning against the mast, eyes half closed. The air is warm, but the wood beneath you is cool and damp. The ocean stretches calm and endless, smooth as glass. No wind, no sound except for the gentle rhythm of waves brushing the hull. You could almost pretend the storm never happened, that the crew is below deck, resting after a long day, that the captain's at the helm, humming an old sea shanty. You could almost believe it, if not for the silence, the kind that feels thick, heavy, like the world is holding its breath. You tilt your head back, watching the sky turn orange, then red. The clouds glow like fire, fading into violet at the edges. It's beautiful, heartbreakingly beautiful. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you feel something close to peace. Your body is still sore, bruised, worn down to the bone. Your mind feels slower, softer, drifting somewhere between sleep and memory. You think about the faces you saw in the deep, the captain's voice, the map. You wonder if any of it was real. Maybe it was just the sea playing tricks, twisting your fear into stories. Maybe this is what sailors mean when they talk about madness, that quiet whisper from the water that blurs what's real. The ship rocks gently, the boards creak like they're sighing. Somewhere, a rope sways, knocking rhythmically against the mast. You let the sound lull you. You think back to when it started, the first night you set sail, the laughter, the songs, the smell of salt and rum. How everyone talked about freedom, about gold, about living by no one's rules. Funny, isn't it? How freedom feels a lot like being lost once you've been out here long enough. You remember the captain telling you once, the sea gives everything. Then she takes it back. You thought he meant storms and shipwrecks. Now you know better. She takes memories too. Faces blur, names fade, voices vanish. What's left are moments, sunlight on the water, a laugh in the dark, a flash of lightning that burns in your mind long after it's gone. You close your eyes, letting the wind, faint as a whisper, brush against your face. It smells of salt, of home, of everything and nothing. You hear gulls in the distance, faint, circling something unseen. For a while, you drift half awake, half dreaming. You see flashes of your old life on land, the small port town, the smell of bread, the sound of laughter spilling from tavern doors, the promises of adventure that seemed so golden back then. You remember thinking you'd conquer the world. Now the world feels too big, too ancient, too alive to ever belong to anyone. The sun dips lower, melting into the horizon. The sky deepens to red, then indigo. The first stars appear faint pinpricks of light. You stare at them, remembering how they used to guide you. Every sailor knows the stars by heart. But tonight, they look different, rearranged somehow. Or maybe it's you that's changed. The ocean reflects them perfectly, sky above, sky below, and for a moment, you can't tell which way is up. It feels like you're floating between two infinities. You lie back on the deck, arms folded under your head, and watch the stars move. They seem to hum, faintly, like a song you've almost forgotten. You wonder what the others would say if they could see this. The calm after the storm, the strange beauty of the endless sea. Maybe they'd laugh, maybe they'd curse it. The ship drifts slowly, its shadow gliding across the glowing surface. You close your eyes again, and you're back there in the storm, the lightning splitting the sky, the captain laughing, the drums pounding, the sea roaring like a god. You feel the pull again, that endless gravity of the deep. Then silence. You open your eyes. The stars are brighter now, the sky black and alive. The ship's still moving, steady and quiet. The air feels softer, the hum beneath the water fainter, fading with the tide. You realize something, the fear's gone. You're not sure when it left. Maybe it was swallowed by the sea with everything else. All that's left is stillness. You stand slowly, stretching. The world feels balanced, weightless. You walk to the edge of the deck and look down at your reflection in the dark water. It looks back at you, older, tired, but calm. The reflection ripples with each breath, merging with the stars below. You smile, just a little. You whisper, "All right then." You win. The sea doesn't answer. It never does. But the water glimmers softly, as if in acknowledgement. You stay there for a long time, listening to the rhythm of waves, your heartbeat matching it without trying. The horizon fades into a soft blur, the night wrapping around you like a blanket. The line between waking and dreaming dissolves, until all that remains is the sound, that soft, endless breathing of the ocean. Somewhere in the distance, thunder murmurs, faint and low. Maybe another storm is coming. Maybe it's just memory echoing. You close your eyes, the ship rocks gently, and you let yourself drift with it. And for the first time since the voyage began, you fall into sleep deep, dreamless, carried by the sea. Time moves differently now. You can feel it, or maybe you can't anymore. The sun rises and falls, but it's just light and shadow. The days blend, the nights stretch, and somewhere between them, you stop keeping count. The ocean has its own rhythm, one that ignores hours and years. It just moves. You don't dream much anymore, or maybe you never wake up. Sometimes you hear the creak of the ship, sometimes the whisper of wind through the ropes, and sometimes when the sea is perfectly still, you hear voices, familiar ones, a laugh, a song, a whisper in a language you can't place. They never stay long. They drift by like echoes caught in the tide. The ship drifts with them. You stopped steering long ago. The wheel spins on its own now, slow and deliberate, turning toward whatever the sea decides. You eat when you can, sleep when you must. There's no hunger here, no thirst, not really. The ocean provides just enough to keep you from fading, a fish tangled in the net, rain caught in a barrel, sunlight warming your skin. Enough to live, enough to wait. You start noticing strange things. The stars above don't look the same anymore. The constellations are wrong, twisted, rearranged. Once, you thought you saw them form a skull. Another time, a compass. You blink, and they're gone. You stop trying to make sense of it. Sometimes, when the moon is full, the sea glows faintly, just beneath the surface. Not with reflections, with light of its own. You lean over the railing, staring down into the depths. You see movement, slow and wide, shapes drifting beneath you, too large to name. It doesn't scare you anymore. Whatever lives down there has always been there. Maybe it's the same creature the captain spoke of. Maybe it's the sea itself, dreaming. You start talking to her sometimes, the ocean. That is, you tell her stories, old ones, the kind you used to share around the fire before sleep. About the taverns, the ports, the adventures you thought you'd have. She listens in her way with small waves against the hull, soft and steady. When you finish, she always answers. Not with words, but with silence that feels like understanding. Nights are the hardest. The quiet is heavy, and your mind starts playing tricks. You see lanterns in the mist, tiny lights that look like ships far away. You call out, but they never answer. Sometimes they drift closer, flickering like fireflies, then vanish. You've come to think they're souls, sailors, still sailing, looking for land they'll never reach. Once, during one of those endless nights, you wake to the sound of humming. A low, human hum, rough, tired, familiar. You sit up, heart pounding, scanning the shadows. The sound is coming from the helm. You climb the steps, slow and careful. The wheel turns slightly, creaking with each movement, and there he is, the captain, or maybe just what's left of him. He stands facing the horizon, coat tattered, hair wet, skin pale as salt. He doesn't turn, but you know he knows you're there. You stayed, he says softly. His voice sounds distant, like it's coming through water. You don't answer. He grips the wheel tighter. You understand it now, don't you? You nod, though he isn't looking. She doesn't let go. You say quietly. He smiles. You can see the faint curve of it in his reflection on the glass. Aye, but she's fair, in her way. He turns then, eyes dark and endless as the ocean itself. We took what wasn't ours. Gold, ships, lives. Thought we could cheat her, but you can't cheat the tide. He looks back to the sea. Still, she gave us this, a ship that sails forever. A horizon that never ends. Not a bad price. I'd say you stare at him, trying to understand. His form flickers slightly, like light on water. Are we dead, you ask? He laughs, soft and low. What's death to the sea? Just another kind of voyage. And then, like the mist that birthed him, he fades, slowly, quietly, until all that's left is the creak of the wheel and the whisper of waves. You stand there for a long time, staring at the empty helm. The stars shimmer above, and the sea hums below, and you feel something in your chest. Not fear, not sadness, just peace. You realize the ship isn't lost anymore. It's found its rhythm, its place. Maybe this is where it was always meant to be, drifting between life and legend. You return to the deck and sit again beneath the mast. The world feels soft around the edges now, as if it's fading gently. You rest your head against the wood, eyes half closed. The waves whisper against the hull, a lullaby older than time. You think of all the sailors who came before you, who looked out over this same endless horizon and wondered what waited beyond it. Maybe they're all here somewhere, sailing the same eternal sea. The stars blur, the wind dies, the hum beneath the water grows softer, slower, until it's in time with your heartbeat. You breathe out, the sea breathes in. Somewhere far below, the drums begin again, not loud this time, not frightening, slow, steady, like a heartbeat. You smile faintly. You whisper, I hear you. The sound carries across the water, swallowed by mist. And then, like a candle guttering in the wind, the world fades to quiet. Just the rhythm of the waves, the whisper of the wind, the breath of the sea, eternal, patient, infinite. And if anyone were to sail by this stretch of water on a calm night, they might swear they saw a ship in the distance, old, tattered, moving with the tide, lanterns glowing faintly, a figure at the helm. No sound but the soft echo of a voice saying, hold fast. But when they look again, it's gone, because the sea keeps her secrets. Always has, always will. Centuries pass, or maybe only moments. Time doesn't move the same way over the water. Storms are born, rage, and die, and still the sea breathes in and out like a sleeping giant. Empires rise and fall. Maps are redrawn. The world forgets names, but the ocean remembers every one. Sailors tell stories, because that's what they do. Around firelight and creaking docks, with mugs of cheap rum and wind howling through the ropes, they speak of strange lights at sea, of voices in the fog, of a ship that sails with no flag and no crew. A tattered thing, black against the moon. Some call it the endless, others call it the widow's ghost, but most just whisper, the cursed one. They say it appears before storms, a shadow on the horizon, still and waiting. The bravest sailors swear that if you listen closely, you can hear singing. Not loud, not clear, more like the sea itself, humming an old tune, a shanty half remembered from a dream. And if you sail toward it, they say, you'll never make land again. Some claim they've seen a figure on its deck, a man with salt-white hair and a calm face, standing at the helm. Others say it's a woman now, pale as the moon, her eyes like the deep. It doesn't matter who they think it is. What matters is the feeling, the way the air stills when it appears, the way the gulls go silent, the way even the bravest hearts skip a beat. The ship never attacks, it never calls, it just drifts, watching, waiting, like the sea itself is keeping an eye on the living. In taverns, old men tell the story of a pirate crew who thought they could cheat the ocean, steal from her, defy her, rule her. They laugh as they say it, because every sailor knows how foolish that is. The sea can't be ruled, she can't be owned, and when the laughter fades, there's always a pause long enough to hear the rain against the windows, the wind through the masts. Then someone leans forward, eyes glinting in the firelight, and says quietly, but sometimes, she lets you sail forever. The younger sailors don't know what to make of that. Some scoff, some cross themselves, some stare into their mugs, wondering how much truth lives in old men's stories. But out on the water, when the night is quiet and the stars hang low, every sailor, even the proudest, even the cruelest, feels that pull, that whisper in the deep, that hum beneath the hull that says, I'm still here. And they steer a little faster. There are captains who claim they've seen the ship vanish before their eyes. One moment real as rain, the next swallowed by mist. Some even say it saved them, appearing in a storm, guiding their ships away from rocks or reefs. A ghostly guardian, perhaps, a reminder that not all lost souls are lost forever. In one version of the tale, a fisherman off the coast of Cartagena swore he heard laughter coming from the waves one night, low, rolling, endless laughter that echoed across the bay. He dropped his nets and never sailed again. In another, a child woke on a quiet island shore, claiming he saw a tall man step from a ship of light, hand him a compass, and whisper, follow the calm. The compass was real, still sits in a museum somewhere, rusted and cracked, needle frozen, pointing west, toward open sea. No one agrees on what the ship is. Some say it's a curse, some say a mercy. Some say it's both, a punishment turned into peace, but all agree on one thing. The ocean has a way of keeping balance. You take from her, you pay her back, you surrender to her, and she might just carry you home. If you listen carefully on quiet nights, you can still hear the rhythm, a faint thud, slow and deep, like a heartbeat beneath the water, the drums of the deep. And if you're unlucky, or lucky, depending on how you see it, you might catch a glimpse of a lantern out there, swaying gently in the mist. Maybe it's just a reflection, maybe it's a ghost, or maybe it's him, still steering, still smiling, still whispering into the wind. Hold fast, and when the storm passes, and the sea grows calm again, and the world is soft and silent, you might feel something brushing against your soul, a memory that isn't yours, salt on your lips, wind in your hair, the endless roll of waves beneath you. For just a moment, you'll understand it, what it means to belong to something vast and ancient and alive. Then it fades, the world returns, the tide pulls out, but somewhere, beyond sight, the endless sails on neither lost nor found, neither cursed nor saved, just part of the sea's eternal story. The horizon glows faintly as dawn begins painting the water in silver light. The waves whisper softly, like a lullaby. The sea sighs, eternal and unbroken. And out there, where the sky kisses the ocean, the ghost ship drifts quietly on, lantern glowing like a single tired star that refuses to go out. It's the year 2025 now. The sea hasn't changed. People have, but the ocean. She's the same as she's always been, patient, watching, waiting. Somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic, a research vessel drifts quietly under a pale dawn. The air smells like salt and metal, the decks slick with condensation. The crew moves slowly, heavy with the kind of tired that only the sea can give you. Down below, in the control room, soft beeps and glowing screens fill the silence. One of the researchers, a woman named Dr. Ilara Quinn, stares at the sonar feed. It's supposed to be a normal expedition, just mapping seafloor ridges for geological data. Nothing exciting, but something about the pattern on her screen looks wrong. The sonar is showing movement, slow, steady, rhythmic. It's deep, far deeper than any shipwreck should be. The pulse is faint, almost like a heartbeat, probably a whale. Her colleague says without looking up. Ilara doesn't answer. It doesn't look like a whale. She's been studying the sea long enough to know its rhythms, and this one feels different, too deliberate. She leans closer to the monitor. The pulse keeps repeating every 12 seconds, like the ocean itself is breathing. She bites her lip. Log the coordinates, she says quietly. Later that night, when most of the crew are asleep, she stays awake on deck. The sky is moonless, the stars bright and sharp. The water below is unnervingly still. No waves, no wind, just a vast black mirror. She closes her eyes and listens. Somewhere in that silence, she hears it, faint, distant, like the thump of a drum deep beneath the surface. She freezes. There it is again. Thump, pause, thump. It's not her imagination. It's there, slow, steady, ancient. She steps closer to the railing, staring into the darkness, and then she sees it, a glimmer of light, far out on the horizon, a single lantern, flickering, too steady to be lightning, too bright to be a star. Her breath catches. She blinks, and it's gone. The next morning, she checks the sonar again. The pulse is gone. The signal is blank. She tries to tell the others what she saw, but they laugh. You've been at sea too long, they say. The ocean plays tricks. Maybe they're right. But when she lies in her bunk that night, she dreams of waves crashing against old wood, of laughter in the storm, of a man with salt-white hair standing at the helm. She dreams of stars and fire and endless water, and she wakes with salt on her lips. Weeks later, the expedition ends. They dock in Lisbon, unload equipment, file reports, everything normal, everything explainable, except for one thing. Ilara opens her equipment case one last time to clean it before storage, and there, wedged between notebooks and cables, is something that shouldn't be there. A compass, old, rusted, needle fixed, pointing west. She stares at it for a long time. The metal feels cold, not the kind of cold from air or water, but something older, deeper. She runs her thumb over the face. There's a tiny inscription, barely visible under the corrosion. Follow the calm. Her heart stutters. The phrase burns in her mind, familiar somehow, though she's sure she's never heard it before. She tries to show it to the lab later, but when she opens the case again, it's gone, vanished. Only a faint smell of salt remains. That night, she walks down to the harbor. The water is quiet, glassy under the lamplight. Far out, beyond where the city lights fade, she sees something, a flicker of gold on the horizon. Just one lantern, swaying gently in the dark. She watches it for a long time, heart pounding, not afraid, just in awe. The light shifts once, then fades into the mist. She stays there until dawn, the tide washing softly against the stones. When the sun rises, the water glows silver. The world looks normal again, ordinary, but she can't shake the feeling that something deep below is still watching, listening. In her report, she writes nothing unusual. No strange sonar readings, no lights, no compass, just data, neat and clean. But in her private notes, she adds one quiet line. The ocean remembers. Months later, during another expedition, a small drone sub sends back footage from that same stretch of ocean. It shows a shadow on the seafloor, a long narrow shape, half buried in silt. It looks almost like a ship. No one pays it much attention. But when the image feed cuts off, just before the last frame vanishes, a faint light flickers from one of its windows, a single, swaying lantern, and through the static, barely audible, comes a voice, calm, steady, warm, hold fast. Then the feed goes dark. The ocean is quiet again, but every 12 seconds, the sonar still hums that same slow heartbeat, the same rhythm that's echoed through centuries, through storms and legends and sleep, the same song the sea has always sung. And somewhere out there, under endless stars and eternal waves, the ship still sails, the ghost of every sailor who ever dared to call the sea their home. The water sighs, the wind hums, and if you listen close, you can almost hear laughter in the distance. Not sad, not haunting, just tired, peaceful, like an old friend finally resting. Years pass, seasons blur like tides, and time folds the way waves do, forward, backward, never really still. Dr. Elara Quinn moves on, or at least, that's what she tells herself. New research projects, conferences, papers with tidy titles about ocean currents and tectonic ridges. But the sea never really lets go. Sometimes, when she stands too close to the shore, she feels that same pull, not in her body, but somewhere deeper, like gravity working on her memory. She dreams of the sound sometimes, the slow, steady drum deep beneath the water. In her dreams, she's on a deck made of old wet wood, the wind brushing against her face, and the world feels endless again. She always wakes before dawn, heartbeat matching the rhythm of the sea. She tells herself it's nothing, until one day, many years later, she gets a message. A storm has revealed something strange off the coast near the Azores, a shape rising from the depths. Wooden fragments, iron fittings, pieces of a ship that shouldn't still exist. Her heart stirs like the tide. She boards the next vessel out. The ship they're using is sleek, modern, bright lights, steel hull, polished equipment. But when they reach the coordinates, something feels off. The water is too still again. The sonar, too quiet. The crew moved slower than usual, their laughter muted. Elara stands at the bow, staring into the horizon. The air tastes like salt and copper, and then she sees it, the shape below the waves, the faint outline of a hull, the ribs of an old ship half swallowed by sand. They lower a drone to investigate, its camera slicing through the blue darkness. The feed flickers, the ship comes into view, skeletal but intact, its timbers preserved by centuries of cold and pressure. The figurehead is gone, the masts collapsed, but the bones remain, and they're faint but visible, a lantern, hanging from a broken beam, still glowing. No power, no flame, just light, soft, golden, alive. Elara whispers, barely a breath, the endless. The crew asks what she said, but she doesn't repeat it. She keeps watching as the drone drifts closer. The light pulses once, twice, then goes dark. The feed dies. The monitors go black. The ocean outside is silent. And then, beneath the quiet, that sound again, faint, steady, like a drum echoing through miles of water. Thump, thump. The ship rocks gently, though there's no wind. Elara steps to the railing, heart calm now, steady. She looks out at the horizon, where the sky meets the water in that familiar, infinite line. The sun is setting, painting everything gold, and for the first time, she feels it, not fear, not awe, but belonging. She whispers, "You found me." The water glimmers faintly, as if answering. She smiles, the kind of smile that feels like letting go. Later that night, when the others are asleep, she goes out on deck again. The sea is flat, black glass beneath a silver moon. The air hums faintly, like the sound of far-off singing. She closes her eyes. The hum grows clearer. It's a tune she doesn't recognize, but it feels familiar, like something her bones remember. She looks up, and there, just beyond the reach of their lights, something moves. A silhouette on the horizon. A mast, a sail, a lantern swaying slowly. It drifts closer, not fast, not threatening, just moving with the tide. Ilara watches, breath still, eyes wide. The ship looks whole now. The sails catch the wind that no one else can feel. The wood glows faintly, silver under the moon. At the helm stands a figure, tall, steady, coat fluttering in the unseen wind. The man with salt-white hair. He doesn't speak, but he nods once, just enough. She nods back. The ship glides past in silence, lantern light trailing across the water like a golden thread. And then, as gently as it appeared, it fades into mist. The hum fades with it. The sea sighs. The stars shimmer. And Ilara feels something inside her settle, like a puzzle piece, finally finding its place. When morning comes, the ocean is calm again. The sonar is blank. The crew finds nothing unusual. But when Ilara opens her cabin door, there's something waiting on the step. A small, rusted compass. Its needle fixed, pointing west. She picks it up, smiling through tears she doesn't quite understand. "Thank you," she whispers. The sea doesn't answer. It never does. But somewhere, deep beneath the waves, the drums begin again, slow and steady. The song of the sea. The heartbeat of the endless. And far out on the horizon, unseen in the morning light, a lantern glows one last time before sinking back into the depths. The world keeps turning. The waves keep breathing. The legend lives quietly, patiently, waiting for the next soul who dares to listen. Because the sea doesn't end. It remembers, and those who give themselves to it, they never really disappear. They just keep sailing. Forever hold fast.